open up the resize practice, which you might remember from last week. And this was the one where it's for a magazine and the client said, we want to have the name of the magazine up here. And you were like, okay, well, if I make it an 8 by 10, if I leave this kind of space, I got to crop it like at her knee or something. If I keep the bottom, I cut off the top of her head and there's nowhere to put the title of the magazine. What if we did the same kind of deal with extending the side? Now, we probably wouldn't be able to stretch it. The right side we might be able to get away with, but the left side has these little light flares in the background which would kind of get stretched out horizontally. Sometimes just a clone is your only option. Like here's an example of something that was done for Wedding Bells magazine. And if you look at the after image, it's really just stuff from the image itself cloned outwards. Like if I made a new transparent layer here and I took my clone stamp, I could try to find stuff that looks similar and just kind of push that outwards. When you come to a straight line like this, just like that hem of the dress when we were trying to get rid of that little label down there, as long as everything lines up, you should be able to just kind of extend that out. Now, it might not look all that convincing that her arm is that straight. You could maybe liquefy it or something afterwards. But in the end, you could probably end up with something like this, which I think would be convincing enough. Like there's a few little things that could be cleaned up, but for a quick job, I think that's not too bad. Now, we could try something similar on this. First off, let's get the canvas to the right size. So let's go under Image, Canvas Size, and set her to inches. And oh, look at there. There's that 6.66666666 forever, rounded down to 6.7 by 10. And before, when we tried to make that an 8, it jumped up to 12. But because we're using canvas size, we can put an 8 in here, no problem. The 8 by 10, perfect. And I've got my canvas extension set to white. You can put that whatever color you want. It doesn't matter because we're going to be cloning it out. And we will hit OK. And if I were to make a new transparent layer and grab a clone stamp, I do have to be careful. Remember gradients. There's gradients everywhere in every image. Like on her cheek, we've got dark here, light here. On the pants, we've got dark here, light here. There's gradients, there's gradients. There's, oh, look at this. There's gradients across the background. In fact, almost like kind of like a little dark triangle shape here. We kind of got a gradient going this way. We've kind of got a gradient going this way. We've kind of got gradients here and over here. There's gradients everywhere. And if we don't respect those gradients, they're going to give away the work that we've done. So let's say I took a clone stamp and I said, okay, well, I'll just take this side over here and I'll clone it over to there and everybody's happy. Well, except for like that, it looks like the gradient is kind of going this direction, darker here, lighter here. So what if I, first off, took a bit of a larger brush, and maybe I cloned perpendicular to that gradient. So maybe I started here, and I cloned outwards this way. That seems to match up pretty okay. Here, the gradient is kind of going this way. So maybe I need to go this direction for my cloning. So maybe I grab here, and I clone out this way. Grab a bit of this and just kind of push outwards. And if something gets a little bit blotchy, like up here, maybe it's a little bit meh, what if I drop my opacity? What if I hit 5 on the keyboard, takes me down to 50% opacity, and I could say, okay, well, there's a little bit of rippliness in here. What if I just kind of grabbed this dark bit and put it over top of this light bit at 50% opacity? Grab this, doink, stick it over top of that. There's before and there's after. That can kind of help smooth things out a little bit. And in fact, you can use that 50% the whole way. Like I could say, let me go here over to here. At 50%, that's all I'm going to get. But if I release and click again, I get another 50%. And if I'm really feeling enthusiastic, I could go Option, click, 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 click. Start here, click, 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 click. And I can just kind of gradually push this outwards. As long as I keep clicking, I'll keep adding another 50%. Give it a whirl. Try high opacity, try low opacity, just practice. If you're using the clone stamp on a transparent layer, make sure at the top it's set to current and below for its sampling. So guys, for the hassle this is, and I'm sure a bunch of you are going to hate me by the end of this is good incentive for shooting a little bit wider than you think you're going to need. Okay, that 2 to 3 aspect ratio of your sensor is going to mess you up if you don't take that into account. And you'll be doing this, sometimes on even more complex stuff. I'm just saying. Let me just turn this off here, I'll make a new layer. Like I can see that it's really dark here, really light down there, and it seems to be going this direction. So like, kind of light here, dark here. It's not necessarily going horizontal. Here it's kind of lighter than it is here. It's kind of going this way. Here's the light, here's the dark. So if I go perpendicular, let's say I start here and I go down here, let me bring that up a bit, that should work out pretty good. If I tried just going pure horizontal from here to here, you can see that it pulled a little bit of a lighter patch in. But this direction seems to work. Now that does leave me this little corner up here that I need to deal with. I could just start over here, go straight across, and if I go too low, I'll end up with a little gap there, but if I go just high enough, I can just push that over into that corner. Now it may not get the same kind of gradient going across. I could just do some dodging and burning up there to fix it. All right? Guys, be careful with the large soft brush. Remember with the soft brush, it starts out full intensity in the center and then it fades out to nothing just outside that ring. And that can cause you some problems. Watch this. Let's say I sampled here and then I moved over to here. The circle is my brush. That's my destination. The plus is my source. Now I just see a little plus there, but that plus is actually the same size as my brush. And in fact, look at that. Because my plus was here and my circle was this large, it incorporated that elbow. So it actually cloned her elbow out to there. And it's about to put another elbow. 3 elbows is too much for one person. 2 maximum. Don't forget, guys, if you really mess something up, if you're working on a transparent layer, just hit E on the keyboard. Like, let's say I accidentally did clone her elbow over to there. I'm like, oh no, everything else looks fantastic. If I grab the eraser, I can erase that problem area back to my clone stamp, maybe a bit of a smaller brush, and continue on as though nothing had happened. And you might notice that this flare, this light on the left side, is causing some difficulties. If you use that lower opacity and kind of come from below and push upwards, come from above and push downwards, eventually you can kind of meet in the middle, and then it's just a matter of figuring out how far would this flare go. So if I just keep extending, so I keep cloning downwards, from here just keep cloning in, eventually I can close that gap up. And by using that low opacity, I can overlap a little bit. Like it still looks a little bit bright because I've been pulling from the bottom. The top is a little bit darker, so I can push some of this top down. And then I can take a look at these flares and say, well, it looks like I should maybe have a bit of darkness in here. So maybe I can grab a bit of this and push it down. Maybe some of this flare should extend outward, so I'll clone it out this way. You can kind of play around with that. And you can turn that layer off and on to see, ooh, how it's looking.